you have every permission to allow the kindness of your creations to be illuminated to you. The kindness of your creations to be illuminated to you. Funny enough, Veronica's reminding us of a wink she had earlier. You know, she's gone around with this camera thing, and she finally decided that the right camera is the expensive camera, the professional camera, the real camera. And she orders the real camera off of Amazon last night. And this morning, she didn't tell you this yet, Mary. This morning, she gets an email from Amazon recommending a camera for her. It was the Webby.
I got that same email.
And Veronica laughed so hard because she said, look at that. They're recommending me a camera that I've already tried that didn't work. And when she saw that, she said, that's not me. I'm not that cheap little camera.
Cool.
I'm not that cheap little camera. And that's a kind wink, right? Now, it'd be very easy to see that ad come in and to be kind of angry and think, that's right, that damn camera didn't work. That thing was such a pain in the ass. See how many hours we spent on that fucking thing, right? It'd be very easy to do that. But the kindness was to say, that's not me. That's not the truth of me anymore. The truth of me is not the cheapest one. The truth of me is not the one that's crap and doesn't work anyway. That's certainly not the truth of me. The truth of me is this one over here, coming 2-day air tomorrow.
Great.
So that's kind creating. And that's compare you to you too, right?
Yes.
See how this works? Even an email. One little email. But as Mary pointed out, she got that email too. So look at that. Powerful creating. That she could have a relationship to that email. That would show her so many things about herself. And this is another thing that we've talked about wringing everything out of every moment. Right? So even an email comes and you could just dismiss it. But why did that email come to you? What does it have to show you? What does it have to offer you? Maybe not every email you can wring a lot out of. But when you can, and you do, allow yourself that moment of, that's right. That's right. Do you understand this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And do you see the wink? Mm-hmm. You guys getting the wink thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
So maybe next week, unless we get on to some other subject and forget all about this week, which has happened many times, maybe next week you can tell us some winking stories, okay? Because we like this idea, and it feels funny to us. And it feels like we can all have good laughs together if you tell us winking stories, all right? So maybe at least 2 or 3 winking stories, if at least 2 or 3 of you come up with a winking story, we think that would be a lot of fun. And you internet folks, if you want to email Veronica or post on the website your winking stories, we think that'd be fun too. Because the beauty of the wink is that it shows you you're creating with kindness to yourself. You're creating your reality and you're including kindness. Do you hear that? You're creating your reality and you're including kindness. So much of your creation has been around struggle and trigger and habit and pain and anguish and heartbreak and travail and waiting for the next shoe to drop and you name it. It's all been about duality and yes and no and right and wrong. And now we're moving into creating with kindness. See, when you start to get out of duality, you have all these nuances to experience. We've talked to you much about loving yourself and how you love yourself and how to be loving. And Elohim just talked to you about emanating and stepping over the threshold and knowing the truth of you. And these are kindnesses that when you don't have to have a fixed position based in duality, you allow yourself to kind of have this flexibility in the middle. It's a little bit like your idea of the shades of gray, right? It's not black or white, but it's shades of gray. But we really don't like that because it doesn't seem very pretty. But we don't know exactly how else to say it, so there you go. So there's this middle ground, you know, and we sort of see it as a sine wave because it seems to move to us. And when it moves, it gives you these opportunities to recognize out of the entrenched position, you come into this place that's more like a, we just keep seeing a picture of like a smoothie, right? You have this blend. It's like a blend, like a blender has blended. You've taken entrenched positions and you've blended them. And then whatever blend you get to sample, well, that's based on whatever exploration you're in. So you have this idea of kindness to yourself and seeing where the wink comes and seeing where the triggers and the habits are. And it doesn't mean that the intensity of it goes away. In fact, it probably gets actually more intense. But it gives you the opportunity to explore and move with it. It's a flow. It's a dance. It has a sense of movement to it rather than these entrenched positions that are defended and built, you know, barriers and armor around. Instead, you have this flow in and out, in and out, in and out that you can live in. And in that flow are these kindnesses, the winks, the what's the most loving thing I can choose on my to-do list. Remember we talked about that. Wow, that's been helpful. We've seen that be so helpful for people. So allow yourself to just say, yeah, there's 5 things that I need to do right now or want to do right now. Which one feels most loving to me right now? And it's amazing how when you go with the thing that feels most loving to you, the other things get done also. But each time you're doing something, there's no force. Eloheim was doing a private session the other day, and it was, you know, go with the fascination, not the forced. Choose the fascination, not forced. Wow, what a gift you would give yourself. How loving that would be for you. And if you have fear that some important task won't get attended to if you do that, well then look at that fear. And maybe be fascinated by the fear enough to do that task first. But the truth we're seeing is that when you follow the fascination you experience, everything does get attended to. And instead of it getting attended to in a very regimented, dualistic way, it gets attended to in this flowing way. And beauty follows that, and love, and kindness, and truth, and emanation, high vibration, consciousness. An opportunity to walk your soul's perspective. Because we'll tell you right now, there's nothing forced about the soul's perspective. The soul's perspective is like water. It flows in every nook and cranny, but it doesn't have to force itself. It doesn't force. Why? Because the soul knows there's no such thing as time, and that there's no such thing as a missed opportunity, and there's no such thing as, oh God, it's never going to work out. So the soul doesn't have to force. And that's why the soul goes deep. Because it's not forcing through, it's deeply saturating every moment. So if you go with what fascinates you, you allow yourself to deeply saturate the moment, rather than going with duality and force to push through to things. And when you deeply saturate the moment, well, you get everything out of it. You infuse it with the truth of you. You emanate the truth of you. You walk your soul's perspective. You're loving. And you're in that place, that blender place, we'll call it. We wish this for you more than anything, is to live in the blender place.